Podcasting from the beautiful state of Maine, welcome to another episode of the Learning from Leaders podcast, the show that focuses on identifying and developing the skills and behaviors that will inspire, empower, and compel others to follow your lead. Listen as Patrick's guests talk about the powerful leadership approaches they have identified and developed, which are vital for leading in today's challenging times. These are the same approaches that will positively impact you as a leader too. Learning from Leaders provides the right balance of leadership research with real-world scenarios, making it easy for you to rise above your best. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Learning from Leaders. I'm Patrick Verino, and on today's episode, what I want to talk about is really what we need to avoid when we're setting our goals for 2021. This is a twist on an episode that I do every year around goal setting, and there's a specific model that I use called SET, which is an acronym for specific, emotional, or time-bound. And those are really the three ingredients that I have found to be the most important and vital in regards to being able to achieve our goals. And for those that may be used to organizations that they work with using SMART goals, to me, this is an offshoot of that. I am very familiar with SMART goals, and quite honestly, I found them to be more cumbersome at times than really beneficial. So what I did was tried to whittle that down into really the components that are most important. And I came up with these three, one being specific, which is the S, the E is the emotional, and the T is the time-bound. And obviously the S and the T are familiar to SMART. So with any of the goals that we're going to set for this year, we need to make sure that they're specific. What do we want to achieve? For me, setting a financial number might be something that I do, or it might be, I want to reach so many individuals. I want X number of people to go through the programs that I offer. I want to be able to work with a certain number of new accounts, whatever that might be. But what's important is to be specific on it, because once I have that piece, it allows me to back into it after I have figured out what my time bound is. In terms of goals, I could set out my yearly goals, but also I can back into it and say, okay, well, if this is what I want to accomplish by the end of the year, then this is what I need to do. These are the milestones that I need to hit between now and the first quarter, or between now and the end of the month of January. Whatever that might be, I need to back into this thing as much as I can so that I can really figure out what my trajectory is. So that's the specific, that's the time-bound. The emotional part is something that you don't really see in the SMART goal, and to me, I think it's the most important part. That's the why. Why do I want this goal? Why do I want to have 200 more people go through my program this year? Why do I want to work with 10 new companies? Whatever those numbers are, what's the reason? And unless I can really come and ask myself that question 5 times, so it might be, why do I want to work with 200 new customers? Well, because I know that the program that I put in place has the ability to change not only people's lives in their work setting, but also in their personal lives as well. Well, why is that important to you? Well, after experiencing and seeing what people experienced this past year, I know how important that is for people to be able to really navigate that situation so that they have healthy home and work lives. Well, why is that important? Well, because I've seen the damage that's been done, and I want to be able to do my part to contribute to making a difference there. And why is that important? Well, because I feel like I've been given a gift in terms of an ability to identify different behaviors that will help people to live better lives, to rise above their best. And I want that to be my legacy. So now I've gone from a legacy, right? I'm creating something for a legacy that came from, I want to have 200 people go through my program. The why behind that is so much stronger when it's now about a legacy that I'm trying to create based on what I put together. And we can do that for anything. I could do that for losing weight. And if you think about it, I could say, look, I want to lose 10 pounds. So it's specific, and I want to lose it by January 1st. So there's a time stamp to it too. I need to do it by that time. And now I can back into it. When we get to the emotional part, I could say, Well, why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Well, because my youngest son is getting ready to play a sport in the spring that I used to coach, and I want to be able to coach again. And right now, I don't feel as though I'm active enough. Okay, well, why is it important for you to coach your son? Well, because he's going to be going to high school next year, and this is the last opportunity I'll have to coach him and spend more time with him. Well, why is it important to spend more time with him? Well, because once he's in high school, our time together will continue to drift apart. And I want to build those roots now, or continue to foster that growth now in our relationship. And why is that important to me? Well, because I know that once he's out of high school and after 18, that if you look statistically, as sad as this sounds, I've probably spent 90% of the time that I will share with him. On average, is what they say. So that motivates me even more. And why is that important to you? Because as an adult, I want to have a relationship with him that continues to flourish and that we build a legacy. Again, I've gone from 10 pounds to a legacy. So that when I walk in the house and there are Oreos and an orange sitting on the table, I might be more tempted to stick with the orange than I am to be tempted by the Oreos, because I look at this and say, this is a legacy. This is what I want. So that's the goal setting part. And if you noticed in the title of this, I said, really, here's the part you need to control. And I'm going to go in a different direction here, and I'm going to talk about our brain. And specifically, I want to talk about the reptilian part of our brain, the amygdala, which really is responsible for fight, flight, or freeze. And the reason I am bringing this up this year, and I haven't in the past, is because if there's one thing that I really have seen this year is so much decision-making that's been based out of fear. And when we make decisions based out of fear, we don't make the best decisions. And our brain is naturally wired to try and protect us. That amygdala part really sets up either fight, flight, or freeze. And I want us to think about our brain in this way when we think about the amygdala. Think about it like a smoke detector in your house. In that if there was food that was burning on the stove and the smoke detector went off, what would you normally do? You'd simply go over, you'd wave something in front of the smoke detector. Maybe you'd have to take the battery out to get it to stop. But I don't think there's anybody listening to this right now that would say when there was burnt food on the stove, unless there was an actual fire, that they ran out of the house and called 911 because the smoke detector went off. No, you knew it wasn't a real emergency. So you just did what needed to be done to stop the smoke detector, and then you went to probably cooking a new meal. Well, our brain is wired in a similar way in terms of it's setting off an alarm, right? When it feels a threat, and this threat looks different. It could be somebody says something to us that maybe we take it as an offense. That's a threat. Or maybe we say we're going to do something. We're going to set a goal. We're going to do something that's above and beyond what we've ever done before. Maybe I'm going to take on a new job, or I'm going to start my own business. And your brain, that smoke detector is going off saying, oh, we got an emergency coming up here. We need to protect this individual. It's trying to protect ourselves from really a perceived threat that's going to come up. Now, we have the ability, just like when it's burnt food on the table, to take a step back and say, you know what? I understand what my brain is doing. It's making me doubt my ability to do this. It's trying to protect me. But I don't need this right now. This is not life-threatening. This is not a real fire. This is my brain perceiving it is, but I have the ability to override this. And we need to be able to do that. And this is such a powerful system in our brain. And I'll give you a quick example of that, is that in our old house, when we had first moved in, we had the whole house hardwired with smokes. And one night, one of them went off. It was malfunctioning. And I was convinced that I could see smoke banking up along the ceiling. And I actually had to get my wife out of bed to say, do you see anything there? Because I was even fooling myself to think there is actually smoke there. And she had to say, no, there's nothing there. Everything is fine. I say that because we will try and override ourselves, or other people wanting to protect us will be that smoke detector. And they will tell us, don't take the risk. You know, you've got such a good thing going on right now. Why would you ever take a chance or risk what you have right now. Just be happy with where you are. That's that same smoke detector. For us to succeed in 2021, we need to get a better handle on our brains, the reptilian part of our brain, so that we start making decisions on opportunities and not out of fear. And the best way that I have found to do that is to strengthen your level of faith. Because when you strengthen your level of faith, you starve your fears. It's the best vaccine I know that prevents people from getting overtaken by fear and limiting their abilities. I hope you have found this helpful. I hope that 2021 treats you incredibly well. And I know that you have the potential to make that happen. We all do. When we set our goals, they're specific, they're emotional, they're time-bound, and also we control that one thing in our brain that has the ability to derail us. And that's our amygdala, that smoke detector that wants to protect us but doesn't recognize that these aren't real threats. Again, I wish you all the best in 2021, and I can't wait to share many more episodes with you and help you and myself to rise above our best. Peace.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Learning from Leaders podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Until next time, keep rising above your best as a leader.